two volunteers. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. This may be a study in Jeremiah, but I am going to read the entire, not book of Jeremiah, no. The entire first chapter of Ezekiel takes me 4 minutes. So just kick back and I timed it. All right. First chapter of Ezekiel. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chebar, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, the word of the Lord came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Chebar, and the hand of the Lord was there upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and the brightness was about it, out of the midst thereof as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings. And their wings were joined one to another, and turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward. And as for the likeness of their faces, the 4 had the face of a man, and the face of a lion on the right side, and the 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. The 4 also had the face of an eagle. These were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward, and 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. And they went every one straight forward. Whither the Spirit was to go, they went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps that went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. And now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with its 4 faces. And the appearance of the wheel and their work thereof, the appearance of the wheels and their work thereof was like unto the color of a beryl. And the 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they went upon their 4 sides, and they turned not when they went. As for the rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about the 4. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the Spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. When those went, these went. And when those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. And the likeness of the firmament above the heads of the living creature was as the color of a terrible crystal stretched forth over their heads above. And under the firmament were their wings straight, the one toward the other. Every one had 2 which covered on this side, and every one had 2 which covered on that side their bodies. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of a host. When they stood, they let down their wings. And there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads, when they stood and had let down their wings. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was a likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And I saw as a color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it. From the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward, I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about. As the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell down upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. Okay, who has got Daniel 8, 1 through 14?
I do.
Okay, let her rip.
The title of this is Daniel's Vision of a Ram and a Goat. In the 3rd year of King Belshazzar's reign, I, Daniel, had a vision after the one that had already appeared to me. In my vision, I saw myself in the citadel of Susa in the province of Elam. In the vision, I was beside Elah Canal. I looked up, and there before me was a ram with 2 horns, standing beside the canal. And the horns were long. One of the horns was longer than the other, but grew up later. I watched the ram as he charged toward the west and the north and the south. No animal could stand against him, and none could rescue him from his power. He did as he pleased and became great. As I was thinking about this, suddenly a goat with a prominent horn between his eyes came from the west, crossing the whole earth without touching the ground. He came towards a 2-horned ram I had seen standing beside the canal and charged at him in great rage. I saw him attack the ram furiously, striking the ram and shattering his 2 horns. The ram was powerless to stand against him. The goat knocked him to the ground and trampled on him, and none could rescue the ram from his power. The goat became very great, but at the height of his power, his large horn was broken off, and in its place 4 prominent horns grew up toward the 4 winds of heaven. One of them came another horn. Out of one of them came another horn, which started small but grew in power to the south and to the east and toward the beautiful land. It grew until it reached the host of the heavens, and it threw some of the starry host down to the earth and trampled on them. It set itself up to be as a great prince, to be as great as the prince of the host. It took away the daily sacrifice from him, and the place of his sanctuary was brought low. Because of rebellion, the host of the saints and the daily sacrifice were given over to it. It prospered in everything it did, and truth was thrown to the ground. Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to him, "How long will it take for the vision to be fulfilled?" The vision concerning the daily sacrifice, the rebellion that causes desolation, and the surrender of the sanctuary and of the host that will be trampled underfoot. He said to me, "It will take 2,300 evenings and mornings, then the sanctuary will be will be consecrated." Thank you, David.
Okay, almost done. Isaiah 6, 1 through 6.
Isaiah what?
6, 1 through 6.
In the year of King Uzziah's death, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, lofty and exalted, with the train of his robe filling the temple. Seraphim stood above him, each having 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one called out to another and said, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." And the foundations of the thresholds trembled at the voice of him who called out, while the temple was filled with smoke. Then I said, "Woe is me, for I am ruined, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." Then one of the seraphim flew to me with a burning coal in his hand, which he had taken from the altar with tongs.
Okay, last one, Revelation 21, 1 and 2.
Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
Okay, and I'm going to read Jeremiah 1:11. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, "Jeremiah, what seest thou?" And I said, "I see an almond tree." Can you imagine if Ezekiel and Daniel and Isaiah and John all met with Jeremiah, and each one of them described their vision to Jeremiah? One of them asked Jeremiah, "What was in your vision?" He says, "Tree." Those are some pretty vivid descriptions of these visions. He said, I got a tree. Which brings Why does God give visions? I got to pause there, so I'm stopping for a minute. I'm waiting.
I'm waiting for an answer.
Yeah, waiting for an answer. Why does God give visions?
To communicate,
Pardon?
to communicate.
Oh, he's definitely communicating, yeah. What is the purpose? I got a couple of reasons. If no one's going to tell me, I'll give you mine. One is to show the prophet just what is going to happen or what God wants the prophet to say to an audience. Right? He's giving this, pass it on. The other one is for the benefit of the prophet. How many times did Ezekiel tell anybody about his vision?
It's difficult for us to understand when we read it. Was it any easier for those people to understand it when they were told?
I don't think Ezekiel never told anybody. Matter of fact, he has a very similar vision in chapter 10. But that's the only times in that whole book you hear about those two visions. He didn't tell anybody.
Couldn't explain it.
Now Daniel told, right? Revelation, John told. I'm not sure that Isaiah told anybody either.
What to say?
Pardon?
Is it because God told Daniel and them what to say?
He told him
Compared to the
he
other
told him
ones.
what to say. You know, actually, when it talks about Ezekiel's vision, it says the word of the Lord came to Ezekiel.
Yeah.
But he didn't say, go tell him. I think, my opinion, I couldn't back it up with a verse. He gives visions to some people, they needed it.